Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mrinmoy Pramanik. I teach comparative Indian language and literature at the University of Calcutta. Today, we'll discuss translation and world literature and Indian context. This is a module from literary translation in India. There are many words and therefore many world literatures. World is a changing notion which always reshapes in imagination because of different contemporary agencies. We imagine world and therefore world literature. As this imagination changes, our idea of world literature also changes from time to time. And this is how a repository of world literature formed historically. One side, we need to understand the contemporary understanding of world literature, and the other side, we need to understand the historical development of world literature. There are many agencies which shape and reshape our idea of world literature, like translation of different literatures, international book fairs, and the themes of the book fairs, international literary meets, travel of literary figures, publication houses, wars, different political agendas, international relations, school of languages, digital media, etc. Here in this module, we will focus on translation and the idea of world literature in Indian context. We will try to understand how the idea of world literature changes, reshapes, and conceptualizes during the course of the time through translation practice. World literature broadly can be conceptualized in two ways. One is the India's contribution to the world literature through translation mainly or only, and the other is the idea of world literature through translation of literature written in different languages of the world into Indian languages. Here in this module, we will focus on the both. Now let us first try to define world literature. The term world literature is first coined by Goethe as Weltliteratur in 1827. He subscribed the idea as the circulation and reception of international literature in Europe, which includes the literature from non-Western origin too. He says, I am more and more convinced that poetry is the universal possession of mankind, revealing itself everywhere and at all times in hundreds and hundreds of men. I therefore like to look about me in foreign nations and advise everyone to do the same. National literature is now a rather unmeaning term. The epoch of world literature is at hand, and everyone must strive to hasten its approach. Unquote. Through this comment of Goethe, we can understand the significance of translation and the representation of different texts in translation as the sphere or space of world literature. In Goethe's understanding, poetry is the common property of man, and this is how poetry can be one of the most powerful component of world literature or can speak about the people of different nations, of different languages, of different cultures of the world. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels defined world literature in their Communist Manifesto in 1848. They described cosmopolitan character of the bourgeois literature. They supposed numerous national and local literature will form the world literature, being free from the narrowness of the national literature. In their understanding, world literature is a medium to transcend the narrow politics and identity of the nations and national literature. Rabindranath Tagore in 1907 delivered a lecture on comparative literature as Vishwa Sahitya or world literature, where he mentioned, I quote, Do not so much as imagine that I will show you the way to such a world literature. Each of us must make his way forward according to his own means and abilities. All I have wanted to say is that just as the world is not merely your plough field plus my plough field plus his plough field, because to know the world that way is only to know it with a Euekel-like parochialism. Similarly, world literature is not merely your writing plus my writing plus his writing. We generally see literature in this limited provincial manner. To free oneself of that regional narrowness and resolve to see the universal being in world literature, to apprehend such totality in every writer's work, and to see its interconnectedness with every man's attempt at self-expression, that is the objective we need to pledge ourselves to. Unquote. From this comment and understanding of world literature made by Tagore, we can understand that world literature is transcending all the boundaries and the contribution towards greater mankind. And world literature cannot be defined or instructed by any kind of power. World literature can be exclusive from any perspective. We have to find the process of self-expression and interconnectedness of one and another through the world literature. Now let us come to the definition of world literature, which is made by Pascal Cazeneuve and David Damrosch, very famous, renowned theorist or leading theorist of world literature. We see the Pascal Cazeneuve's world of letters, like the world of letters has always seemed a matter more of metaphor than of global reality. In this book, Pascal Cazeneuve shows us the state of world literature behind the stylistic refinements, a world of letters relatively independent from economic and political realms, and in which language systems, aesthetic orders, and genres struggle for dominance, rejecting facile talk of globalization with its suggestion of a happy literary melting pot. Cazeneuve exposes an emerging regime of inequality in the world of letters, where minor languages and literatures are subject to the invisible but implacable violence of their dominant counterparts. Pascal Cazeneuve, here in this understanding, points out very clearly and rightly that world literature is not a mere reality, but it is a metaphor. And Cazeneuve also points out on the politics of exclusion which we can find in world literature, because hardly world literature talks about the marginal or peripheral literature of the world. World literature is always dominated by certain kind of literature. And this is how world literature appears as very exclusionary category. And what we have to do to transcend all these exclusions and to make our own world literature from our own location, from our own perspective. Now let us talk about translation and world literature. What is the relation of world literature with translation? So now let us talk about translation and world literature, the relation of translation with world literature, or how translation works in the category, in the sphere of world literature to build the idea of world literature. Supriya Choudhury, a renowned professor and scholar of English, comments, I quote, "I suggest that the global spread of modernism and its local flowerings need to be understood through the vigorous translation activity that accompanied it. I focus on vernacular modernisms in India between the 1920s and 1960s in order to show that the impact of translation was by no means unidirectional or targeted towards the West. Translation from both European and non-European languages was an indispensable element in the climate of Indian modernist writing, especially as printed in the poetry magazines of the early 20th century. The simultaneously local and cosmopolitan character of this modernist literary corpus, far more important and extensive than Indian literature in English, can only be understood through a continuation of the project of modernism's translation. From this perspective, the initiative what she took to find the idea of world literature in the Indian Bhasha literature, in the Indian so-called vernacular literature, and to find the relation of translation with new modernism and how this modernism forms the idea of world literature. Presenting world literature not as a canon of text but as a mode of circulation and of reading, David Damrosch argues that world literature is work that gains in translation. When it is effectively presented, a work of world literature moves into an elliptical space created between the source and receiving cultures, shaped by both but circumscribed by neither alone. Established classics and new discoveries alike participate in this mode of circulation, but they can be seriously mishandled in the process. From the rediscovered Epic of Gilgamesh in the 19th century to Rigoberta Menchu's writing today, foreign works have often been distorted by the immediate needs of their own editors and translators. According to Damrosch, the literature or the text which can transcend the border of its origin can exist in other culture. And through this translation, a text gets its afterlife and can be contributed in the sphere of world literature. Now let us talk about Indian literature as world literature. We can find the history of translation of Indian literature in the languages of the world. And this is how Indian literature contributes itself in the space of world literature. The contribution of Indian literature in the world literature didn't happen only with the encounter of the British, by the British, but it has been started in pre-colonial era when Panchatantra was translated into Arabic, or it had been circulated to the West. It was also entering of Indian literature into the sphere of world literature, though the idea of world literature was not there. The idea of world literature as a specific cluster, as a specific identity, have been only introduced with Goethe in 1827. But if we historically try to trace the interaction of Indian literature with other world languages, we have to trace it back from 1827. Since the British era, we have observed the translation of Upanishada, translation of Gita Govinda, translation of Bhagavad Gita, translation of Shakuntala, Manusmriti, and many other texts into translation. And this is how Indian literature contributed in the sphere of, in the structure of world literature. In later period, when a new educated middle class Indian emerged, we can find that Indians were started to translate their literature into English. When we are talking about English and the literature which is translated into English as world literature, there is another perspective. When Indians are writing their literature in English, when Indians are writing directly in English, it is direct contribution to the world literature because it attracts a wider audience, not only of different parts of India but also different parts of the world. And this is how Madhusudan Datta, Taru Datta, Rabindranath Tagore, Aravinda, and the later modern writers like R.K. Narayan, Muluk Raj Anand, and many other, they have contributed in the idea of world literature. And this is how English appears as most powerful language to contribute Indian literature in the structure of world literature. One is through English translation, and the other is through originally writing in English. Salman Rushdie, in the very famous magazine Frontline, commented, "The prose writing, both fiction and non-fiction, created in this period by Indian writers working in English is proving to be a stronger and more important body of work than most of what has been produced in the 16 official languages of India, the so-called vernacular languages. During the same time, and indeed this new and still bourgeoning Indo-Anglian literature represents perhaps the most valuable contribution India has yet made to the world of books." This comment of Salman Rushdie actually invited a lots of debates, though we can see this comment from both the perspectives. If we see or visit different bookshops of the different parts of Europe or America, or if we see different conferences, workshops and institutes and syllabus of world literature, we can find the representation of Indian literature is only limited with the diasporic Indian literature or Indian writing in English. The Indian writing which is translated into English are originally written in different Indian languages are hardly represented outside India in the curriculum, syllabus, or the conference, or in the seminars as world literature. In that sense, Salman Rushdie's comment is to some extent is true. But there is another story beside it when Mahashweta Devi, who wrote into Bangla, got Magsaysay award, or the Rabindranath Tagore, when he got a Nobel Prize but originally written in Bangla. We can find that there is also enough power which transcends the mere linguistic barrier, and the writers who are writing in different Indian languages, they also continuously contribute in the world of world literature. And this is how the Veda, the Upanishad, especially the Rig Veda, considered as a property of world literature. But the power of English language and English publication houses made Rushdie's comment bit true, and made those writers who are directly writing in English, made them more confident about their writing and about their power of being represented. Literature and literary scholarship from India, though sometimes unacknowledged, have been at the forefront of revitalizing interest in the idea of world literature, a field of study that stresses global circulation, transcultural reading practices, broad structural patterns, and often unexpected connections among books and readers. This comment is recently made in a journal in world to find the literature of Indian literature and world literature. Now let us focus on the world literature in India. When we talk about world literature in India, we really mean the translation of world literatures into different Indian languages along with English. Though the idea of world literature is not even 200 years old, and the formulation of this idea by any Indian happens only about 100 years ago, the history of world literature in Indian language is older than that. Only the fact is that world literature as a literary political category was not there. Since the time of medieval period, with the beginning of the Islamic rule in India, Arabic and Persian literature were started to be translated into India. And this is how we got the text like Sikandarnama, we got the text like Arabian Nights, and many other famous Persian and Arabic texts like the stories of Laila Majnu, Yusuf Zulaikha, all these texts of Arabic and Persian languages. And since the British period, the proper idea of world literature was emerged as the Europe was represented as the world in front of the Indians, and through English and British European literature, Indians encountered the idea of world literature. Gradually, with the emergence of English educated Indian middle class, the idea of world literature into different Indian languages expanded. Not only the literature of the British Island and France or German, Indian middle class educated started to read, translate and publish other European American literature into different Indian languages. We find beside the literature, translation of literature like Iliad, Odyssey, or literature written by Shakespeare, Milton, Shelley, Keats, Byron, or Molière, or Goethe, or Marx, or Engels, or Nietzsche, or Sartre, we get literature from small European countries like Norwegian literature, Austrian literature, Romanian literature, Hungarian literature by newly emerged educated Indian middle class, and they started to publish all this translation of all this literature mainly through little magazines. In the idea of world literature in India, one side we can find the Arabic translation of Arabic and Persian literature, and other side we can find the translation of British, German, French literature, and small European literatures, American literature, and later we can find the translation of Latin American, African and Russian literature as world literature. Historian Fernand Braudel, in his book A History of Civilizations, mentions Latin America as the other new world. Indians' imagination about Latin America through its history and literature is like a visit to New World. The motivation to translate Latin American literature into different Indian languages was to discover the world beyond Europe, which identified itself with the Third World. Latin America and Africa were perceived as two new literary spaces of new kind of literature, knowledge and politics. In the later half of the 20th century, these literary regions helped Indian readers to understand the socio-political realities of these countries previously colonized by Europe. The translation were not only about acquaintance with literature, but more importantly about history and politics. Translating history of people's movement of different parts of the world was necessary to construct the idea of similar of the self, where the revolution can be guided and appropriated by the references of the histories of other colonized countries. The Latin America or African text would require to be set in specific historical discourse. In a collection of classic Sahitya Sambhar in Bengali, the editor Debashish Chatterjee says that Juan Ramon Jimenez, Miguel de Unamuno, Antonio Machado, Valle Inclán, Pío Baroja, and definitely Garcia Lorca made us forgot the difference between East and West. We did not even realize. And this is how translation of literature written by Neruda, written by Lorca, written by Gabriel Garcia Marquez or Wole Soyinka or Chinua Achebe or Coetzee or Borges actually transcends the difference between East and West, because through this translation of New World literature, through the expanding the scope and area of world literature, Indians actually found their own identity. They can see their own self in the mirror of Latin American and African literature. And this is how they owned the idea of world literature. Perhaps this is another turn in our literary journey and to announce the end of colonial modernity. The age of modernity and total colonial enterprise led us towards the difference between East and West. Not only the difference, but also the definition and nature of the East and the West. Not only the people's literature, but also other masterpieces contribute a lot to the imagining of Indian literature, imagining of world literature into different Indian languages. all the introduction happened in the pre-colonial time when Persian and Arabic literature started to be translated, and in the 17th century, 18th century and 19th century, when Indian culture experienced the Islamic rule and their promotion of literatures. Classics like Arabian Nights, Iliad, Odyssey, Greek plays and poetry, Shakespeare and Marlowe, writing of Goethe, Victor Hugo, Baudelaire, Sartre, Nietzsche, T.S. Eliot are always known figures of world literature in different Indian languages. There are children writers too, like Arthur Conan Doyle, Agatha Christie, Jules Verne, and Harge, and so on. Besides this, there are several other books. There were translations of Poe's stories and of P.G. Wodehouse, like Thank You Jeeves, Carry On Jeeves, Agatha Christie's Bengali translation of Agatha Christie stories like Mongolbarer Sondha Boitok and Kobutorer Jhank Beral, Jack London's Shesh Juddher Ghoda, Call of the Wild, Son of the Wolf, White Fangant, and so on. I have emphasized on the radical political discourse of India, what makes most of the Latin American, African, Afro-American, Chinese, and Vietnamese writers and poets to be translated into Indian languages. One of the findings of this module is translation of and reception of Tagore in Latin America brings two-way communication between Bengali and Latin America, and between different Indian languages and Latin America too. This module also talks about the political role of Communist Party of India and the Communist Party's contribution to bring the translation of Chinese literature into different Indian languages, and and the Russian literature into different Indian languages, which are translated by different Indian scholars of different Indian languages from the World Literature Center of Beijing, China, and Moscow, Soviet Union. The project of imagining or projecting third world also brings Latin America, Africa, and India together, at least literally and mentally. And this whole initiative offers us a different world of world literature which is beyond Europe or America and unlike Europe and America. Several times we have read and translated Latin America or literature of small countries of East Europe or Africa as a resistance against European hegemony of literature, aesthetics, and philosophy. Translating Neruda, Paz, or translating Gabriel Mistral is not any single incident or mere celebration of great works of world literature. It is also about a greater literary and cultural identity. These literary translations contribute to the history of revolution also. Because of this political consciousness, Lorca, being a European, is not identified as European poet, but a people's poet. He also equally contributed to the project of revolutionary political discourse. Now let us focus on Marxist literature as world literature. The words like Antarjatik Sahitya or international literature in the sphere of different Indian languages comes with the radical political discourse or the Marxist politics in India. We can find the translation of Communist Manifesto in different Indian languages, which started since the very beginning of or second decade of the 20th century. And the whole translation, which are published from Soviet Union and China, made a new horizon of world literature, which was beyond the domination of European literature, or which was not introduced by the British or by the European colonizer, by the power of European colonizers. The significance of these translations of Soviet Union, Soviet literature and Chinese literature is that they reach the grassroots people with political initiatives. Because translations from Soviet Union and China had very low price and bookmaking was of good quality and attractive. I argue there is very few instances of translated literature reaching the people so widely. The idea of world literature introduced by Marxist or people's literature is much more vibrant than any other efforts to popularize it in different Indian languages. Perhaps the political and organizational support and systemic circulation of these translations were responsible for this reach. There are few collections available of this translation in different archives of India. Now, let us conclude our discussion. What we mentioned earlier, that world literature is a changing notion, and there are lots of agencies what make our idea of world literature. We have discussed the few agencies and the few historical incidents what make and changes the idea of world literature. Now there are few more other issues what changes the idea of world literature or contribute to reshape the idea of world literature or contribute the increasing text contribute to increase the number of the text in the sphere of world literature. The new digital media helps to expand the idea of world literature, because this new digital media, the web giants, web journals always publishes translation in different Indian languages, and they really do not care about the copyright issue and other things. And as web giants can be published in very low cost, so we can find a new areas of world literature in different Indian languages. With this, there are international relations and different political incidents and wars and capitalist exploitation what helps us, what attracts our vision to extend our solidarity and sympathy to the oppressed people. And this is how literature from Palestine, literature from Gaza, literature from Afghanistan or literature of Iraq have been translating since last decade. We can find similar kind of incident happened when Vietnam War happened, and we can find translation of Ho Chi Minh's writing and several other literary texts were translated into different Indian languages. And this is how new areas of world literature is gradually expanding. The role of different publication houses also attracts our vision to reconceptualize our idea of world literature. We can find National Book Trust's initiative to build pan-Asian identity, and this is how our focus goes to new area of world literature. We can find literature of Japan, China, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan and Afghanistan to reconceptualize our idea of world literature with the literary identity of Pan-Asia. This is how the world literature from Indian location can be seen. And from this discussion, we can understand how the idea of world literature in different Indian languages gradually has been changed. Thank you.